I think when you have a purpose, when you're driven by that purpose, that becomes your identity. Welcome back to the Level Up Life, Muscle and Mindset Mastery. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing. Thanks for liking our content. Got Waz here with me today. Topic that, I think about pretty frequently, and just in terms of people who have had any sort of success coming out of something, whether it be substance abuse, it can be a divorce, it can be a loss of a loved one, anything like that, they come out and they improve their life. What does it take, So I'll start, Waz, I know, like, for you, with the substance use, for you, it was just like, I'm done with this.
Yeah. I mean, I had it easy. Far as, I wish it would have been easier to make the decision 19, 20, 21 versus being 31, 32. But yeah, I mean, I was a dad. I was, my kids didn't see me drink. That was elsewhere. And so
yours was like the consequence, like doing weekends.
It was, similar to weekends. I got sentenced to 8 months of jail, work release. So working in the patch, it was 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. I did 2 weeks of time in jail. It took me 13 months to complete my sentence. After 2 rounds in jail, it didn't even take that long. I was done.
The pain was great enough at that point.
Oh yeah. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, 16 months, because still pretty hot-headed then. I'm like, I'll probably catch a couple assault charges while I'm in here, because I didn't have the patience for any of them people. There were a lot of guys that it was like a vacation, right? They weren't hustling anymore to steal and everything, and they're having the time of their lives. And I was freaking miserable because the time stopped and the world still went on for my wife and kids.
That was enough for you.
Oh yeah. My hatred for substances sprouted and bloomed. Laying in that bed, I don't know if it was the first week. I know I told a story on here about working in Ohio at that Italian restaurant where we had to be to the bar side because the restaurant was so full, and staring at that bottle of Crown. Like, I know that was my first time free from doing the jail and work back and forth. So, it was pretty strong. And that's what I needed years before, instead of, waiting and getting through and going through all my trouble.
Yeah.
Now, how about you? That was a long ass winded answer.
Well, so it took me like a lot to get to that. Oh, the pain is great enough.
What was it? Do you have anything specific where it was like, bing?
Yeah, my light bulb moment specifically was, I was in D-Pod. It was cell 213, right up in the corner, second floor. I'm up there, and I'm telling my bunkie at the time how pissed I was that they revived me just to charge me with a felony. Like the paramedics, my logic in that moment was the paramedics, their intentions were to revive me so that I could be charged with a crime, not to save my life. And in that moment, I was like out of body experience, listening to myself talk. And I was like, my brain, something is wrong with my brain. The way that I think right now, there's something wrong with me. And that was like my moment, I threw my hands up in my head, not
Right.
physically, but and I remember just sitting on my bunk like
How long were you clean at that point?
it was like 3 weeks. And the thing is, I'd been reciting this same thing for 3 weeks over and over, like
Right.
bullshit, like,
Oh yeah. I mean,
and they had the angel law came into place like 2 days after, where, if someone overdoses, they aren't charged with a crime or something because of that. Like,
that was God's timing though, right?
yeah, the fact that and I look back now as a blessing, but a lot of people don't know. I have my 10-year from my overdose date, which was January 29th, 2020, or excuse me, 2016. And then I have my actual clean date, which was June 22nd, 2016. So what happened from the time I overdosed till the time I actually got clean was a lot of using, a lot of peeking out, when you get caught with drugs and you're not taken to jail directly. They just threw me back out on the street because they had to test it. So,
yeah, it was mid-August when I was arrested. I think it was either late November or December when I got sentenced and went to jail. And who knows? I was sober from August till when I was sentenced. But I had done that before too, right?
the thinking didn't change,
Yeah,
right?
it was, or I have enough time under my belt, like, I'll be okay. I'm not going to do this. I mean, I did make a lot of different decisions from the time before in trouble to that time, but was all cycling back, right? I don't have it in me to go easy, right? Have one and be done, or that's not it. You said it numerous times. It's more.
Yeah.
More is the addiction, right? We had 2 different substances. I mean, pretty much the only thing I have never tried. And I mean, I don't know how I got through, because I had a lot of friends, that very same story that you got. And I was so anti-pill before that. I mean, I thought in the younger years of using, like, stick a needle in your arm, like, I got a handful of years under my belt, and this still all works enough. I mean, sometimes I got to combine this and this and this, but I sure don't need to stick in. That's about the only thing that I have never done or tried.
Well, and I went to get onto that, the topic of how to, because I don't think anybody ever sits back and they say, I want to be an IV drug user.
Oh,
Nobody.
Right.
I don't.
Yeah.
Like, that's nobody's goal.
You're probably too little for that old commercial, right? Where nobody says, I want to be a junkie when I grow up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's showing this dude running from the cops.
Yeah. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't think you would.
It's like a series of compromises to my boundaries from the time I was 13, 12, when I was like, I'm never going to smoke a cigarette, to taking, one of my parents' butts and hitting it and getting that woo head rush, to, finding weed in a relative's drawer, and like, my cousin and I are like, let's try it, to drinking, to, it was just like,
oh yeah,
small boundaries. And then I'd already busted down the door of using opiates recreationally, and it just came down to a point where I was like, in a bad way, I wasn't even doing opiates at the time, I was just drinking, and someone had kind of introduced it to me. I seen them do it, and they told me when I went to do it myself, they had told me that it would basically take my soul. And I was like, I don't care what you're telling me, I want to do it. I was in such a bad place though, that.
But it sounds so glamorizing when you hear that then too, right? You're not thinking like the devil's got its grips on me, right? You're thinking of, oh, it's that good of a high, right? Like,
Yep. And it does. It literally, like, who I am and my character, I would have never done those things. Like,
right.
when, like, the crimes that happen because of my use that I committed, like the checks, like, that stuff isn't someone who's in their right mind does.
Yep.
It's literally like, you might as well walk into the police department and tell them what you're going to do, because you're leaving a paper trail. It's all right there. It's a kamikaze type move, because I didn't know how to quit. I didn't know how to get through detox on my own. Didn't know how to quit. And I knew, well, I'm either going to die, I'm either going to go to jail, and if I go to jail, I'll get clean there. And I thought that would be the solution, you know. But if, and going back to like your moment, that it was enough was where you started to change your thinking. My thinking, it took me all the way from, you know, early 2000s to 2016 to get to a point where I was like, it's my thinking. It's not the paramedics are after me. It's not the police are after me. It's my choices, and it's the way that I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So once that happened, I was able to step back and be like, it's the mirror, right? You look at yourself, you take an honest assessment, inventory, like, what is my participation in this? And it was my thinking.
Yeah. Well, you don't, when you're using, right? It's that crutch, you know, you don't do that hard look in the mirror, right? You just justify all the things you don't like. Maybe it's a death wish. Maybe it's you feel invincible, right? All that stuff. And it's all the thinking. And until you come to grips with all that, you're not going to make the change, right? There's a whole lot of difference of saying, right? Versus making that decision.
And once you get to that point, like analyzing your own thinking and how you got to a place like that and how do you rebuild, it's really overwhelming.
Now, how much of all that, going through that, do you think has the role in how successful you became with, you know, starting kind of just as a trainer, then as a business owner, as a podcast creator, all that, right? I mean, I know it's got to have a lot to play in. I can't be stopped, right? And having some of that thinking, like, if I can quit using opiates and I can get sober, and then the dominoes falling of the people that you've helped. I mean, first as a trainer, right? And then with your story and giving other people strength, how much of a role does it have in what you are now?
Well, so I credit a lot of the people along the way that have bestowed their wisdom upon me, right? From treatment to, you know, meetings I'd go to, from interactions with business owners, like, all of these things have collectively taught me to get how to get to where I am. But the biggest thing, the biggest contributor to any of it is two things. I don't know it, and I'm willing to learn. So having the willingness to actually sit back and be like, how did you do it? You know, like, I see someone who's doing really well in business, and I want to pick their brain. Like, what do you do? So then I just take that, and it's just been this, like, willingness to learn. And I'd say the other thing is humility, right? Because as much as like it appears like I'm successful in terms of training, and maybe, you can say, yes, training successful, business successful, podcast successful, but I have a standard that I'm never done. I want to keep helping people. I want to keep growing, and just do more, right? And maybe this is part of the addict brain, right? Like, what did I just say?
Oh, yeah.
I just want to do more.
Right. And I mean, it makes sense though, right? Because more rewarding than that bank account is knowing that you help people, right? And just like Chancey said, the other day, where it's even cooler when you don't know, right? And it's somebody you haven't met, but that you impacted, all that, right? The juvenile center, right? There's all them names and numbers in our phones, that the random texts, the calls, everything else, and navigating. And
you think about like 10 years from now, the relationships that we're building just in that scenario, and the seeds that we're planting for these kids to make changes in their own lives is like, and I'll give you an example. And I worked and this is probably a super unknown fact about Adam in terms of job history. I worked before I'd gotten in trouble and before I got into drugs significantly, I worked at a daycare, and it was a before and after school treatment, like basically or before and after school program for the kids.
Yeah, I didn't mean treatment.
And I remember like 5 years later, a young man came up. He was in high school or something at that time, and he said, "Mr. Adam, do you remember me? I went to such and such school, and you were one of our before and after school teachers." And he's like talking about how I inspired him to work harder and all this. And I'm like, so that's just one example of like foreshadowing what we're doing now with the juvenile center can potentially do.
Oh, yeah.
And on that topic, I got something like really cool I want to read you. I won't, for her anonymity, I won't list her name, but so it says, "Dear Adam, thank you so much for your article today on honesty. Self-honesty keeps us from so many things in life. Your words were perfect, really hit me, and will forever be a life changer for me. It's often hard to love ourselves, and frankly, it is more comfortable to stay where we are at, even if it's detrimental to our physical and emotional well-being. Thank you for your gentle and loving wake-up call. I always enjoy your articles, but this one is very special for me personally. And I've never met this individual in my life, but for her to be impacted enough to be compelled to write an email to me.
Yeah.
Like, I was reading it and I start tearing up. Like, this is why I do those things.
Oh, yeah, 100%. One texted me this weekend, and, he's in a real rough spot right now. And, man, I hope you know how much this helps. And, cool, because I didn't know if I was touching on the right stuff. It was a situation that I haven't been in, and this young guy, where I'm doing my best with my wisdom in my mid-40s, going back to 15, 16 years old, wishing I would have handled something this way, or how to handle the situation moving forward. And, I didn't know some of it. I mean, I knew it was good advice, but there was a lot where I hope this hits home. And he said it did. And it's been 3 days of back and forth texting. And he's asking the right questions, searching for the advice. And I'm well aware that there might be better messengers and everything else, but I'm doing the best that I can with it and helping to try and walk him out, till he's back in the light. That's the cool stuff.
Yeah, super rewarding. That's why I do all the things, like help people change their lives, because if it wasn't for the people that helped me change, I credit one individual specifically, Spirit Dan Thompson is his name, Harbor Hall. Awesome dude. He's a clinical director, I believe now. This guy, man, I'm up and I referenced my thinking was the problem, right? I knew my thinking was the problem, but letting go of those habits, those thinking habits, the way my brain functioned for a decade and a half is not easy.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like, I don't even know an analogy for this. I'm kind of stuck, but it's like trying to wipe off a chair that you're sitting in, It's kind of hard when you're sitting in it.
Yeah. I mean, there's that, but it's so much of them critical thinking skills you've numbed or just shut down from the point, right? We were both young teenagers when we started using and how the things graduated.
And we were both like, 32, right in the early 30s.
Yeah, getting sober. So, I mean, it's a lot of them thinking habits. It's very frequent, first thought wrong.
Yep.
Right? There's a lot of things of the hot-headed Dave where I was pretty chill dude, and then I went down, and then the oil field, and even with getting sober, out there time is money, right? And it's go, go, go. And then getting out of it, slowly coming down. I have them moments, right, where it's bam, I see red. And a lot of them old thinking habits, what's the first thing I would have done? I'm punching them right in the mouth, right? Mm-hmm. Swallow some of your teeth, friend.
Well, that's how I felt with Dan when him and I were sitting there. And he was my shepherd in this portion of my journey. And his wording was that he was guiding me, because you can't fix someone else's thinking for them. But what we can do is kind of allow them, we can shepherd them in the process and lead them to discover it on their own. So I don't even remember. I want to say it was like 3-4 hours. I was in his office with him, and there was no I don't know. I'd be curious to sit down and talk with him about, where did your questions come from? Like, what made you ask me these specific questions? Was it just something in the moment that came to you because I had resentments towards, towards God, towards society, towards all of these things? And he would ask me, a question.
Mm-hmm.
And I would answer it, and I would ask him a question, similar to an interview, like what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And rather than responding and answering my question, he would respond with another question. And it was, over the course of the time we sat there and talked, it was really irritating him. And there was a moment I felt like making him eat his own teeth, like you were saying. And then we called it a day, stopped. I think I had a group counseling class while I was at treatment I had to go up to. And it took me till about 9 o'clock at that night, sitting on my bed in my room. And I was like, it just a light bulb hit me. All of what he was doing, how he was guiding me, it kind of gave me that clarity of oh.
Mm-hmm. Because it goes back to, I can tell you how,
Mm-hmm.
right? I can tell you, but you have to do it. You have to get there, right? So it's leading that horse to the water.
Yep.
Buddy, Greg Answer, every time does it to me, and we get together. And
Then he laughs
there's-
afterwards.
There's been so many.
I can hear
know,
his
when-
laugh. Like,
I was going through some stuff with, my mom being in the nursing home, and we got together for breakfast, and even times without asking the questions, right? Where he was showing me the way.
yep. And I want to be clear, like, he's not laughing at you.
Oh yeah,
He's laughing. That laugh he gets, like, he sees you figure it out.
oh yeah,
And he starts laughing.
he's watching. It's like them sci-fi movies and stuff, and he's watching all the wiring
Mm-hmm.
and all the electrical come through and hit that point where it connects. And like you said, a lot of times with question, right? And sometimes it's you get half a sentence out as you're answering the question. It's like, you son of a bitch, right? And
Yep.
it's awesome. And I mean, I think a lot of that too is stuff you learn when you start figuring it out. When you found the way out, and one, I mean, you're clear-headed now because we're not using everything like that. But as you sit and analyze, you get to that destination and you figure it out much easier and quicker. A lot of times you need people asking you them tough questions because it's not a yes or no answer. And you have to dig a little bit in here
Mm-hmm.
to have that answer. But, nobody got us sober but us. It takes a lot of freaking help.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And it's the
I
same
mean,
with,
You had Judge Beal, and I had my message for him when you had him on, and then correspondent, right? He was the biggest one. And in that moment, standing there wearing my nice little suit and tie or whatever, shit I was wearing, the jail time. And that is the best thing that could ever happen to me. How long would 6 months sober, maybe? Maybe a year, get through probation before I was back to where I was at least convincing myself, I can have a couple. As long as I don't drive. I mean, I know I'm getting hammered, but as long as I have the wife come pick me up, or right? How long would that have been?
before
No.
you,
Seeing nothing but freaking orange, right? I mean, a lot of my things that make me work or fire me up, right? Crocs, orange.
what do you think? So, sidetrack here. Tigers alternates this year for Friday home games. They're the Orange Boys.
Yeah. And it's not as strong anymore. I was just
Yeah.
talking with that other trainer at the gym, but I still, unless I have to, them chairs, I don't sit in the orange ones. Right? It just But I also like that where, I mean, it's kind of dumb and narrow-minded. It's a color, right? But at the same point,
What it represents.
I do like how that feeling, because it's just a reminder every time that thing thinks is, and that's why I will never even chance it. I am happy in who I am and all that, right? Now, and I've gotten a lot further and a lot better sober than I have when I was using. And I had a good job and I had a lot of good things, but I sure wasn't happy with who I was as a person. I could say I was a good dad and a good husband, a good provider. Other than that, I mean, I was a good ball player until the oil field took that from me, because I wasn't really playing that much. But other than that, I'd be hard pressed to tell you something that I liked about myself besides those things. I mean,
Your identity was work.
yeah. I mean, it was work and drinking.
Provider.
Yeah, I mean, I was a good drinker. I mean, I could put them down, but what's that? That's not anything to hang your hat on.
Right. Well, like that makes me think of personal identity, and that gets into, you can get pretty deep about that subject specifically, but I think when you have a purpose, when you're driven by that purpose, that becomes your identity.
Let me interject there in the purpose, right? Because we definitely have very similar ones, and how much that JJC means to me, right? The training and everything else, but going there. And I had one of the employees there was talking, and a few months back, her aunt had passed away. Her aunt was the mother of my buddy that I was in the car accident with that took his life. Didn't know this. And she had made a point to tell me the other week that her mom, the sister, right, said the reason why it was him that passed and not me is so I could be in there that day and doing that stuff with the kids. And I mean, how tough it was to hear and in that conversation. And, I don't think humbling is the right word, but kind of along that effect. I mean, it shook me. I'm like, really don't need to be crying when these kids come in, but there was a whole lot to me because it's one I wrestle with all the time. I talk to old Brother Hubbard often and hope I'm doing well, in honoring him. Because I know for a lot of years I wasn't, but I kind of had that death wish because I did survive. And if it wasn't a death wish, it was I don't care, right? My wife said there was an invincible factor, I don't know. I know the paramedics and all that, when I came to, they all thought I was dead. They thought I was dead too. How long they were on scene, I don't know. But when I woke up and people flying at me, telling me not to move and sitting up and all that, like, I mean, I already had a drinking problem, and that just grabbed gears, right? I went from a pretty fast car to now we're in them top drag cars, like and I mean, I think I needed to hear it because I still have all them doubts, right? And I don't buy into a lot. I don't allow myself to acknowledge the majority of it. That was one. It was tough, and she knew it was going to be tough even saying it to me. But I'm super thankful that she did, because one, I mean, she's definitely one of my favorite people in that building. But I mean, it put a whole nother perspective in it, and it did, like, that is my purpose.
Now let's take a moment to thank our sponsors, Pine Haven Assisted Living. At Pine Haven Assisted Living, they believe in making every resident feel at home. Nestled in the peaceful countryside of Hemlock, Michigan, they offer compassionate care in a family-like environment where residents can enjoy independence with the support they need. Registered nurse-owned and operated, their team provides personalized care, home-cooked meals, and a range of activities to ensure your loved ones continue to live a fulfilling life. They also have alpacas and llamas on site to enrich the lives of their residents. Experience the warmth and comfort of Pine Haven. Call them today at 989-295-6632. That's 989-295-6632. Or you can visit them on their website at pinehavenassistedliving.com. That's pinehavenassistedliving.com for more information. Now, back to the Level Up Life. Once you have your purpose, the identity takes shape, then you can start building, right, around that. And so I think back on my journey and I'm like recovery court, as you know, people think it's a bad thing. When I found out I was getting in recovery court, I was so happy because I knew I wasn't going to prison, and I knew, like, oh, finally something that's not going to just send me off to prison. You know, something that's going to, and I was willing to listen to all the rules, like whatever they had, right? So one skill that, you know, I mentioned with Judge Beal on here as being a major component to my life, my success today, is these little calendars, man. As trivial as they were, in that process, like, you had to come to court every 2 weeks. Your calendar, you had to have it. You had to have your calendar filled out for the coordinator every time you went in there. So what does this process entail? They were training us to be organized. Not that I didn't learn this when I was a kid and in high school, and, you know, I had these skills, but when you're in this use kind of cycle, these positive habits that help people be successful or efficient disappear. So the calendar was huge. So now I utilize it on my phone. I've actually 3 calendars that I use for different, like, we have our training calendar. Mm-hmm. I have my Google calendar, and then we have a family calendar. But so this helps me keep my mental bandwidth free. It's like, have you seen, like, Mark Zuckerberg or all these people? They just wear the same clothes every day. Steve Jobs was one. So they're not using any mental bandwidth to pick out, what am I going to wear tomorrow? This may be weird, and I don't know, maybe someone else out there does this. I set my clothes out night before. Sometimes I have it planned out, like, the entire week what I'm wearing. Damn. Where if I do this in one go around, I have it all set up. I don't have to spend another moment, like.
Yeah, I sometimes do, but and my reasoning is always just because I don't need to be using the flashlight on my phone, waking up to wife at 3:30 in the morning. But I mean, all that stuff, that planning, right, makes everything. I like my morning routine. You know, if I have to be at the gym at 5, I'm up a minimum of an hour and a half before. Because I need that silence. I need that time reflecting, praying, everything else.
That's self-care time for you.
Yeah. And that's my biggest planning of the day. And there's only limited structure to that, right? Having the clothes out and ready to go is just one piece of the puzzle that I don't have to, you know, go through.
I have, like, this strict morning routine that I go through so I don't forget things. Because if I break this routine, I might forget my lunch, or I might forget my water or something. When I stick to my routine, and in general, having processes, routines, systems allows us to become more efficient. Mm-hmm. So these are things like I had, then I lost. How did I regain them? It was recovery court. So I regain all these processes in recovery court, and then I start building on them. Like, how can I become more efficient? And then it's like, I got to a point where it's like, you know, the training business started to grow, where I was like, okay, I need to either start a waiting list turn people away or bring someone on. And that's when I was like, at the time it didn't work for you. So I had someone else. And then we revisited it and you were able to at that time.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
because I still remember our conversation lifting, what was it, 2018, I believe, at Edge, the original Edge.
mm-hmm.
And how you were saying that was a dream for you. And I was like, that to me told me passion. And then seeing you in action now, there's a passion there.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just the fitness, nutrition, like that's stuff that's built into your life. But, and I think this is what sets us apart from a lot of other individuals. And I'm not saying anybody specific because I think a majority of trainers have this, but I think it's just that passion to help people.
Oh, yeah.
Meet them where they're at. And that is to go even further into the systems and processes like we were just talking about, telling people, like, hey, what's your plan for eating? You know, see if they have a schedule or if they're just shooting from the hip type eating, you know?
Yeah.
But you have a passion for helping people and it shows in what you do.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, and I always have, right? And that was something even in my using days, right? Oh, yeah, I'll do this, get us beer, right? Feed me and booze. Always, because for a long time, that was the only way I could love myself, right? Was to give. I could take pride in that, but knowing my drinking independency on that and all that, right? There was a whole lot of lack of self-love. And then that passion, I mean, I love it in everything on the fitness end. But then it doesn't take time for each client to be family. And that's, I mean, you're talking to everybody, getting them started, but a lot of them that, you know, are my clients. No, I work for you. Some of them, you know, you just kind of know as a face, but it's the same thing for you. And same people that you train that I don't. They are a family. And knowing their story and getting to know what makes them work and the name of their husband or wife and their kids, and you know, it's a big deal. And wanting to help them doesn't stop on the physical fitness and the dieting portion and everything else. It's deep, and it's super rewarding, super cool to say that I get to do that for a living.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm gonna get paid to work out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
and like a lot of our clients that have successful businesses have been huge components of my learning process. Like, you know, I'm not going to list names because there's so many of them and I'd not want to forget one of them. But in the conversations, you know, and on their breaks, they'll ask like, hey, so how's this or that going? And I'll tell them, and then they start coaching me, and they're just sharing freely their information. And I credit so many of them with helping me elevate my knowledge to get to this point. Sharing their systems, their processes. One taught me about consumer price index. And I was like, what? And he broke down the math to me. He said, Adam, the inflation rate is at this. So if you don't elevate your pricing at this, your debt to income ratio, your debt won't change, and your income, because your spending power, will decrease. So him explaining to me, this is like business stuff that I would not have known, and I wouldn't have known any of it had he not explained it to me. So as I'm teaching them, this is how you take care of your body. This is how you fuel it. This is how you keep it hydrated. This is, these people were teaching me how to grow and run a successful business. So those systems and processes are huge. But what it comes down to for me is, you familiar with the law of attraction? You seen the movie The Secret? It's like I think it's like a rom-com, if I remember correctly. Anyway, Dare to Dream, right? So the law of attraction, I read something about it in treatment, and I was like, you can literally attract into your life what you want. And there's a bunch of laws, right? Law of cause and effect. Each action has a reaction. And learning about these things kind of just taught me, like, karma, you reap what you sow. What you put out comes back to you. And knowing all these things in my day-to-day life, I'm pretty consciously aware of, I want good energy coming back to me. So how do I get that? You give it.
Mm-hmm.
Give it freely.
Yeah.
It's like a random, just randomly high five someone in the gym today. Like, what's up?
Who was it?
Eileen.
Oh,
she's just walking by.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah, I saw it.
And that feels
actually
good.
Standing right there. Yeah, absolutely.
Feels good for both people. There's an energy that comes with that. There's a positive atmosphere it creates for, you didn't high five, but you heard it.
Yeah.
And you felt that positive energy. So, I have a lot of thoughts on that. We could actually create a whole series of episodes on those topics, but really what you put out comes back to you. I talk about my moment, and there's a guy named John sitting there in treatment, and I'm like, yeah, when I get out of here, I'm gonna be a personal trainer. He's like, oh yeah? Where are you gonna train? I was like, well, I think 4 Seasons is my best bet, but I think I might be a little bit restricted because the owner who owned 4 Seasons also had owned Best Western at the time when I had overdosed. He's like, oh, no. You didn't hear? Brian Patrick just bought that. I was like, oh, interesting. I'm going to go see him when I get out of here. And I was convinced I was going to start there. And I went to him every day. And you can confirm this with him. Every day after my workout, I'd go down to the desk. What's up, Brian? He'd be like, Adam?
And that's a pretty good impression of him, too.
Yeah. And then I'd say, you gonna hire me today? He's like, not today, Adam. I don't got any openings for you. All right, see you tomorrow. It was literally like 2 months. And I think, I joke that I wore him down. I annoyed him enough. But really, it was like that persistence that he's sitting here and he's like, this guy's asking. He really, really wants to work here. So he must, I would only imagine, if he's putting this dedication into asking me to hire him, that he's going to be a good employee. Can't hurt. I'll give him a chance. And from there, it was the same sort of like, this is what I'm going to do. And I had people along the way that just kind of helped me. And that's, if you don't believe in yourself, who's going to believe in you?
Right.
So, series of from that conversation with John in treatment to unwavering belief in myself that this had already happened. Like I wasn't going to be a trainer in that conversation in treatment. I was already a trainer. I just had to wait for time to pass to get that job title.
I'm looking forward to all the other stuff, right? Because my first dream, besides being a trainer, was being a gym owner. And I know you share that one. And that's the next logical step, right? When that works out and how that works out, right? Like if you're like Brian, you're going to move further and further away from me. Because that's what he did. And but you know, and that was one where as a trainer my schedule wouldn't allow.
Yeah, so Brian, Matt Smith, you know, Alex, I probably wouldn't still be doing this if he wouldn't have helped through COVID. You know, there's been all these people along the way. Ed now, opening his doors. Just, I can't highlight
Anna and Nana.
Yeah,
right.
Anna and Anna. There's just, I can't highlight enough. Like, it takes a village, whether it's coming out of the darkness, whether it's building something. And if I had advice to myself, just starting out, not knowing what I know now, you know, there's things I would do as far as like, I would do better with the business side of things. But people are the greatest resource on the planet. Just connecting with individuals, and it doesn't, you can literally genuinely just help someone and it comes back to you. You know?
Yeah. That ripple effect.
Yep.
And yeah, it's amazing. And you know, there hasn't been anything that hasn't been great, you know, since you've made that decision to get sober. This is what I'm going to do, right? Of course, there's going to be hiccups, right? And when things are easy and go well, they're just easy and go well. You learn from failure and from grinding and making it up to the top. If you're just placed on the mountain, doesn't mean near as much looking out at that view as when you're up there and your knees are scraped up and you're bloody and you're beat and you're scared to take out the boots because of how blistered they are.
It's like the yin and yang, and you know, I think it's Chinese proverbs. They talk about the yin and the yang, right? You cannot appreciate the light if you've never seen the darkness. And I truly believe, like, that's when you've been in a hole so deep that it's just like, and I'm not different. I don't want to be portrayed like I'm saying that I'm different, because there's so many of us, people that we've, you know, had on this show that have been in those places, that have came out, and they have such an appreciation for the little things because they've been in such dark places. It's the yin and the yang.
Yeah. 100%. It's real. And that's where a lot of that giving comes back, right? A lot of these people that we've had on, they have jobs in recovery and substance abuse counselors and everything else that know what the bottom feels like and looks like, right? And that darkness. They're not doing it because it's a lucrative career.
Right.
They're doing it because the amount of people that have helped us get out, right?
Reach back.
And reach back, and that's another thing. It's like family, right? I'm filling out that paperwork a week or two ago. It's like all the people that I talk to now are pretty much all in recovery, right? And that's, it was never intentional. Like, oh, they're in recovery too. They'll be my friend, right?
Yeah.
That was never any intentional thought. But of the people that I do hang out with and associate with, because they do know, right? Got a buddy who nonstop, he analyzes my face and stuff. I see him at Recovery Lift every Sunday, and yesterday especially. You good? I'm good. For real? And I mean, I think he asked me 4 times yesterday. And yeah, dude, I'm all right. And that's the people you want to be around, right? Other one, hey, how you doing? Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not just say hello. Don't ask how I'm doing if you don't give 2 shits.
Yep.
Be ready for a heavy answer. And I
Yep.
mean, not from me, but
Right.
Otherwise just say hello.
Funny story about that before we wrap up here. It's another when I was in treatment story. The counselor, I think it was Dan, maybe it was Pete, one of the guys up there said, when you're up there and you're ringing the bell, because we'd go up to Walmart and Petoskey and do bell ringing, we'd have shifts, 4 hours apiece. And it was, man, I'm telling you what, bell ringing in December, right off the lake there is cold as shit. So I'm freezing. Ding, ding. And he said, when you go up there, I want you to sincerely ask people. Don't just say, hey, how's it going? Say, hey, how are you? And see what happens. Well, here I am bell ringing. And one guy, I opened up a can of worms when I asked that. He stood there, hung out with me for 2 hours. We had an awesome conversation. Yes. He told me, he's like, dude, my wife cheated on me. She left me. She took the kids. I'm going in to get drunk. I'm going to go in to buy a 5th, go get drunk. He stood out there and talked with me for 2 hours.
He never went in and got that 5th.
He left.
Either. Right? And I mean, dude, those are the God moments, but you feel that connection too. When somebody asks you, I love that one, right? Because that intention behind it and hearing the answer.
Yep.
And people know that you care.
It was kind of funny how he was like, he could hear it in my voice how I was asking, not just, how you doing? Wasn't just that surface level. I was actually asking for a true answer. And he kind of, he could sense it, just the words, the tone, the body language, all that stuff comes into play. But it was a cool God moment.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you. Don't be afraid to check in on your people. By rule of thumb, if someone's name crosses my mind, shoot them a text. I actually have 2 texts that I have to send right after we're done recording this, just based on our conversation, people's names that popped into my head that I haven't heard from in a while. Just check on your people, man. You never know. You never know who's struggling, what they're going through. Aside from that, thanks for the conversation, as usual, Waz.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We really appreciate you. We thank you for believing in the mission, what we come up here to talk about, the people we're trying to help. Just thank you for being a part of it. Thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing. Till next time.